Oh my goodness. Low key, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know why. And I don't know why. I'm also trying not to burn myself as I light this little piece of incense as I kind of get the atmosphere going in here for us this evening or this afternoon, depending on what area of this planet you're on. But yeah, you guys, I have been receiving comments and questions about doing a Q&A, for instance, of like spirituality questions, of development questions, of spirit communication questions, of like to have this thing happen one time, what does it mean, the kind of questions. And I want to be able to spend some undivided time to actually unpack and answer those kind of questions. Excuse me, now I must cough. Let me see if I can mute this so I don't like blow out your speakers. There we go. Hopefully that wasn't too terrible, and I might need to reconsider my incense choices. But yeah, that's the game plan for today, is to talk to you about basically whatever you guys are interested in. I've received some kind of question topics over the last couple of days as I talk to people in my community in this little network that we build here. And so I definitely have some to start us off with, but I'm totally down just to ask whatever questions you guys have regarding like anything that we talked about, like what was it? Like psychic development, spirit intuition, spirit communication, your ancestors, just that process. However, if y'all have questions about, me as an Abby, I won't say no either. But yeah, so that's the game plan for today. But of course, I totally have to hop into the comments and have to say hello to everyone because you guys give me life. Y'all guys make me so happy and so thrilled to be here. And I think we're going to have to keep this thing going about us being spiritual besties. So just saying, y'all, my spiritual besties. So hello, Miss Denise. I'm glad you are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sandrine, girl, you've been holding it down for real. Like since the beginnings. I love it when you're here. Thank you so much. And you always have great questions too. Sandrine, it has a big brain. I love talking with her. I love pressing against her sometimes Taurusness, where she gets a little bit stubborn, but she has a great big brain, and I love conversing with you, hon. So thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And Jennifer, hey, sweet pea. No, hey, beautiful. Thank you, darling. Cecilia. You just mentioned that you're back in the social swing of things. So I'm glad to see that you're back, hun bunch. That's a really good question. I'll probably start in there here in just a bit, but I totally want to just like visit with you for a quick second. I can cough into the camera. We don't mind. See, that just seems rude. Like to cough into the camera almost seems as disrespectful as coughing in your face. I don't want to do that. I really don't. It's just me. It's just me. I was raised in the South. I'm a Southern girl at heart. I have a thing for manners and respect, and coughing in your face is not one of them. So that's that's not going to be it. But yeah, we'll totally get this going, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. Yeah, hello from the job, our spiritual angel. Sweet. Meg, you're gonna make me all smile and giddy, giddy, giddy. But yeah, you guys, the game plan is I'm making myself available today just to talk about anything that you guys are interested in regarding spirituality, communication, development, intuition, anything like that. I'm not gonna be reading today, but I will be answering every complicated, difficult, unusual question that you guys can come up with. That's what I want today to be. And so that's what I'm going to have some fun with. But Miss Denise, hold on. I will totally answer your question first because I think that's going to be an awesome one to dig into. But also, my suggestion is to go ahead and copy your question after you type it in, just in case I don't get it on the first go. I may not come, like, I'm figuring out how to manage a Q&A. So copy it just in case we lose it. I don't want you to lose your question. But yeah, Denise asked, how is my Ancestry Tarot project going? Oh my gosh. So my Ancestry Tarot project, if you don't know, I have a book that I am working on. It's called, I'm looked at it. I call it my Book of Ancestors. And what it is a catalog of all of the life tarot readings that I'm completing on the members of my family, on the ancestors of my family. And actually, I kind of want to show it to you because why not talk about it? Why not show it while we're like, talking about this thing? So I'm going to sneak out of camera for a quick second. Secret, I'm wearing pajama bottoms, so I have to do this kind of low. Okay. Excuse me as I be all rude. Okay, let me show you. Because I have the biggest family album ever. But here we go. See, this is my stuff. This is how big this thing is. So this is the book itself. So there's the camera. This is the journal that I've been using recently. And it's just a leather bound paper journal. And what I've been doing is connecting to each of the members of my family from recent to further back. So for instance, like my grandmother is the most recent person in my family line to pass away. So I started off with communicating with her. And basically I have a tarot spread that I love to use. It's kind of like it's an adapted zodiac style spread. And I use it because it kind of gives the whole synopsis of a life, just the high level overview of a life. And it gives me the opportunity to kind of connect. Hold on, let's see if we can do this. To connect with her or whichever ancestor I'm dealing with, to connect with them and kind of learn about them and their life. And it gives me this unique perspective of seeing them through the eyes of my adult lens now, instead of that child lens that I've grew up with, or them seeing me through the child lens that they used to know me as. So it's this nice way of relearning who my family is. And so far, my grandmother has been done, and so you can see my handwriting. I just write in the answers to the tarot questions as they come through. I did my grandmother. I have my additional questions. I did my grandfather. Those pictures are in here. I did my maternal grandmother. I did my paternal grandfather. I did my maternal great grandmother. I did my maternal great grandfather. And I have done my paternal great grandmother. I don't remember if I've done my great grandfather though. But the funny thing is, doing this work, I actually learned that one of my members of my spirit team is actually my deceased great grandmother on my father's side. And she'd always been this energy that's just in the background, this ambient energy around me. And I didn't know that I was her. And so once I kind of dug into her here doing this work, I was able to put the connection of that feeling was her. And so it was like, oh my gosh, it was a little bit of like a little family reunion of like, oh my gosh, you've known me this whole time. You've been around this whole time. How very cool. And as you guys know, I just recently did a Facebook post of if you had imaginary friends, and often those imaginary friends are our first contact with our spirit team. And how I also had that same instance where it's like, oh my God, you've been here the whole time. I thought I've lost you, kind of thing. And so your brain explodes, and it's kind of awesome. But I've also done some other members of the family. So I have some aunts and some uncles that I was close to. And it's still progressing. Like a family is a big thing, you know, it's a big thing to dig through. But I'm loving that I've done this project, that I'm doing this project, and it's going to be like a continuation of work over time, because when it's done, whatever done means, right? When I feel like it's hit a state of completion, that's going to be an interesting little gift to give to my son, to give to, my son, actually. I was thinking like my wife, I don't know if she'd necessarily want it. Because this is our family, and through my genealogy, and maybe it would be useful actually to do one with my wife, and maybe have that be the collective, like these are these two families put together, this is where you came from, and give that to my child. So that's my thought. That's my thought on that project. And I was documenting that work in YouTube, but I just recently talked to somebody who commented on that post, and going into it, one thing I didn't know going in is how much I'd want to sit with each session, with each time before I move on to the next one, because it didn't feel like just flipping the pages of the book. Like, to me, this is me understanding the deeper nuanced meanings of this soul. This is me understanding their psychospirituality, their nuances, the stuff that made them, the drama that made them who they are. And also it helped me understand my family so much more. Like, it helped me understand myself, because you understand who you are when you know who you were raised and who raised them, and then who raised them. And that tells you, like, of course I turned out like this. Of course my mother turned out to be like that. Of course my family turned out to be like this because of these circumstances. And it just makes so much more sense when you devote this kind of time and do that kind of project. So if anybody is ever interested in setting up like a book of ancestors or talking about projects or spreads or how to connect, dude, I am so down to having that conversation. All you have to do is send me those questions. I will either create content around it or talk to you directly about it or do something special around it. I am all for ancestral communication, spirit work. I am like, y'all could not give me a better, bigger topic to talk about. So I'm just saying, if y'all want that, totally let me know. Let me know. So let me put this down over here on the side so that I don't like destroy it and cover my feet because my feet are cold today. But I hope that answers your question, Miss Denise. Thank you so much for starting us off there. I appreciate that. And Sandrine, how does one clear our mind to receive? Oh, I actually wanted that phone call. Excuse me. Let me. You guys, there we go. I'm so sorry. My bad. How does one clear our mind to receive messages and not get it mixed up with our ego or what we want to hear? Dang, that is a really, really good question. And I feel like that is a big practice. It is a, that's almost a skill set like weightlifting is a skill set. Like it's that thing you have to practice over and over again until you get it close to right. Okay, because how do we answer that? Let me talk a little bit about how I do it, and then maybe we can like unpack it further from there. Because for me, the way that I kind of sidestep my ego is by listening to the first thing that shows up. And the way that I started learning how to do that was when I was journaling, because I'm a prolific writer. I write all the time, daily. Like that's part of my spiritual practice. That's what I do, is write. When I first started kind of purposefully writing, it was in the middle of an emotional crisis at the time. And so I'm purging my emotions. I'm writing all about it. I'm screaming out loud silently in my head as I'm writing things down. And I realized, I started to notice that I was getting answers to the questions that were coming up. So I just wrote it down and then I continued being pissed off is what it was. So I'd hear the thing, I do an asterisk, I write the thing that I heard, and then I'd move on. And for me, it was the listening, not even listening, it was just capturing the first thing that I saw and not judge it. Just I captured it, not judge it, and move on. And then that capturing started to turn into like a language that I could trust, a feeling that I understood, a process that it's just doing it over and over again. And that little way helped me trust it in bigger ways when it showed up on accident. So I feel like when we listen to this ideology of clearing your mind, you know how hard that is. That feels like a wild, long, like leap. Feels like a wild, long leap. Instead of focusing so much on clearing your mind, I think it's more of like focusing on, maybe not even focusing. Let me use the example of like listening to a symphony. If you've ever been to the orchestra or ever watched an orchestra, especially if you've gone to one, if you listen closely, you can hear the entire orchestration at once, and it has its melodies and it has its drama and it has its thing. But if you focus in on one violinist or one trombonist, whatever it happens to be, you can hear that individual player. And my experience has been is that the more that I know that I'm trying to focus on the thing, the louder I can hear the thing, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, totally let me know and I'll clarify. But I want to make sure that I answer the part, not get it mixed with our ego or what we want to hear. I think another aspect that just came to mind is that my ego, or excuse me, my intuition was willing to say whatever I needed over and over again, while my ego just perpetually got worse. So it's just like, it spiraled into like a little oblivion while my intuition said, or my spirit team said, whatever it is that I needed to hear in the same loving, kind way over and over again. and there was no judgment attached to it. There was no value proposition attached to it. It was just what I needed. It was just what I needed. I hope that makes sense. It looks like Sandrine said that it makes sense too. Did you say that we have the same white strip in our hair? I'm your soul sister. Oh my goodness, like honey, like it's been growing in recently. It's like it started back here and now it's moving forward. So this is new. That's new. I have no clue where it's come from, but yeah, it's there. And it's so interesting with curly hair. But yeah, I hope that makes sense, sweet peas. But yeah, please feel free to throw in your questions. I definitely want to keep answering them for as long as we're able. Joy, you're on a journey to align yourself with your higher self mentally and spiritually so I can begin to manifest things that you want in life. Hell yeah. Where would you suggest I start? Joy. That's an awesome question when you're on just a journey, when you know that where you're at is not where you want to be and you want to go somewhere else. How do you start? The thing, I feel like there's like two different things with that. There's like that feeling of where we want to go being such a flying leap from where we are at, it almost feels impossible to get there. So for me, often I think about what's the next logical step, because I get overwhelmed, y'all, when I have these big goals and big ambitions. I then think of how far I am from over there, and it's like, oh hell no, that's not happening. But for me, taking just the next logical step is really useful, because it kind of, when I do that, things tend to show up for me. Just open up. When you've decided, you know what, I'm going to read more about soul past lives. There we go. We'll just use that. I want to read more about past lives. All of a sudden, you start to notice more content, more books, more videos show up in your atmosphere about past lives. It's just that shit that happens. I don't know, they call it law of attraction. No, I'm playing. But you kind of bring in these things and you tend to be aware of these things once you've made the decision, and taking the next logical step seems to be, at least again, I say this to everybody: take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Even shit that I say, for me as an Abby, what works for me is taking the next logical step, not so much trying to do the wide leap over there, because that's insane and it hurts and it's hard. So instead of being stuck on the hard, I say with the relatively doable, possible, a little bit of stretch, not that bad, I can do that. I can hunt down a book that's associated with the topic in which I want to learn about. That I can do. And then see where it goes and follow the momentum of where it goes. It doesn't have to be structured. It doesn't have to be neat. It can be a busy little bee doing all its things. No one said it had to be a straight line. It almost never is a straight line, yes. But I hope that makes sense. And I see that you made a sentiment of, that's right. Perfect. Jesus, we are not doing spirit messages per se. We're just doing a Q&A on spirituality, on psychic development, on spirit work. So if you have any questions about that, Mr. Jesus, you can totally throw that into the comments. I'm just going to answer questions for as long as we can. Y'all can even ask about me. I don't even care. Anything that you'd like to know, anything that you've always wanted to ask somebody. Because there's so many topics on this planet, and there's so many juicy ones and chewy ones. So I look forward to talking to y'all about it. You guys are telling me my journal is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna pull more questions. She says, I adore this project and hope to attempt to do the same thing one day as time permits. Yeah, an ancestor or a book of ancestors, I feel like, is a lot like a book of shadows, for instance. And it takes a little time, but it's best when you can enjoy it and just do the work. Because it's not meant to be super heavy or super ritualized, unless you want it to be. For me, it's just been a great kind of way of reconnecting to myself, and I tend to want to do that in the fall. And when I do that, I tend to also have like these like metaphysical growth spurts, essentially, and then I want to go do things, and I want to, stuff like that. So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I'm gonna scroll down. Oh, Sandrine just confirmed that she pasted 3 different questions. I bet you anything I will answer all of them today. You want to learn how to connect? Ooh. Connect to what, hun? Can you clarify that one for me? It's such an amazing project. You're gonna make me give you hugs. Sweet. Hey, Kiana. I'm glad that you're here. Here's a question from Mac. What abilities can a spirit guide use to affect one's life and purpose? And also a spirit guide ability to speak to you if you're listening. Oh, also, do a spirit guide, I'm assuming, have the ability to speak to you if you are listening. Okay, so what abilities can a spirit guide use to affect one's life and purpose? All right, so that's a deep ass question, and I love that. So we're gonna go high up here. We're gonna go like high level overview because that's kind of one of those topics that can take a while to unpack. But I love how chewy this is. So my understanding, and this is again just my understanding, and I think a lot of different practitioners kind of believe either similarly or they're on a different trajectory based on their pantheon or their own philosophical dogma, whatever it happens to be. Everybody has their own situation. Now, for me, the way I'm seeing it, I don't think our spirit guides necessarily affect our life and our purpose. I feel like they more subtly influence us because I feel like we have decided what our purpose is. We decide what our life is going to be and going to look like. And because we still have free will and choice. Full stop, we all have free will and choice. So our spirit team, our spirit guide, basically is here to kind of help us navigate to where we have decided that we wanted to go. That's their usefulness. That's one of their areas of usefulness, I find anyway. I think of them as like maps on my phone. You know, when you put the address to the place that you want to go on your phone, and your spirit guide is Siri or Alexa telling you the directions the whole time. Now, you may think that you know better, and totally fine. We understand that. And you may go left instead of right because you think there's a light over there, but you forgot that there was construction. That's okay. She'll just tell you how to, turn around and go back the other way. But you don't want to listen for whatever reasons. Maybe you missed the message. That's fine too. She'll keep telling you. She'll keep telling you. She'll keep telling you until you get to the location in which you've asked for, right? Also, you can change your mind. You can add a different location. You can add another route. There's all these things that can still be done. That it's not set in stone what your purpose is per se, or what your path is per se. However, I do think that if you lean into what your natural inclinations are, you'll be more satisfied with the things in which you're doing, with the things in which you're interested in and invested in and following suit in. So what abilities can spirit guides use to affect one's life? I feel like I'm trying to make sure I answer these questions directly. What abilities? So I think that's more of the question. It feels like subtle inclinations, subtle reflexes, subtle, you can get whispers. Maybe you have a feel, maybe you have that gut feeling going on. Sometimes it can just be like, going this direction feels good, going this direction feels bad. Let's just go where it feels good. I feel like that's another ways to go about it. But also, the thing is, your team is going to use whatever method works for you. So if it's, for instance, the slight touch on your cheek to get your attention, great, that works for you. Speaking of, I have a brief story. I remember when I first met my wife, well, it was like it's our first in-person meeting, and I was leaving. I was getting on the plane to leave from having had the weekend with her. And for whatever reasons, I got what felt like a slap in the face of don't leave yet. Don't leave yet, don't leave yet, don't leave yet. And I'm literally walking down the terminal like, what the fuck do you mean? Excuse me. What do you mean don't leave yet? I'm going to the plane. Like, what do you mean? And it was hard. I felt like I almost hit like a brick wall, and it's just like, I don't need to go yet. And it's not always this loud. Honestly, it's almost never this loud. I only have like 4 or 5 instances in my life where it's ever been that loud, that strongly, where it's like, if you do this, you're breaking all of our plans kind of thing. So I listened to it. I turn around. I pissed off the stewardess. I left. I got off the plane, and I reached out to, she's now my wife, but we were just talking at the time. I reached out to her. I was like, so I didn't leave yet. She's like, what? Can you come back and get me? Cause yeah, I think I just rescheduled and I'm gonna take the next plane out tomorrow. So I need a place to stay tonight. And we basically got another day. And I think some of the reasons why we're together is because of stuff like that. And but those are the ways in which I think our spirit team, and I call them a team because there's not just one. I feel like there's a plethora of souls of energies that work with you for any goal or any process that you have in mind. But oh, good. Max says that makes sense. So perfect, hun bunch. But yeah, so like I said, if you're new in, the questions we're talking about today is just about spirituality and psychic development and spirit work and anything to that nature. So if you have a question, I'm just kind of going down the line, answering questions as they come up. I may scroll down just to kind of get the questions from people who are here instead of people who maybe hopped in and hopped out. But this is all whatever you want to make it today, you guys. All whatever you want to make it. So let's keep going. Oh, that's the one that we already talked about. So that's good. Kiana, that was a good question. How do I declutter my spirit? How do you declutter your spirit? That's an interesting question because I think I need to understand more of what you mean by clutter. Because, yeah, there's a lot. I guess I need to understand more about what you mean by clutter. Because your spirit to me, okay, so when I think of clutter, I think of like objects or things or stuff that's in your way or just in your situation. So I need to understand more about declutter, and then we can probably dig into that. So yeah, let's get some clarity on that question and let's follow back up. Ooh, that's a good one. Do you have a mantra on how to start connecting with your ancestors? Actually, for me, it wasn't so much a mantra unless you want a mantra. Some people really like ritualizing their processes because it feels different than the mundane. It feels special. It feels sacred. It feels magical. And hey, whatever works for you, hun bunch. I personally didn't feel the need to use a mantra. I just legit, you know what helped me out? I did turn on some music because having music going helps me. Just it's what I like. I'm kind of creating an atmosphere, right? I kind of knew what I was going for when I was trying to reach out to my grandmother. And so I pulled her picture off the wall and just kind of set it on my altar because I just wanted her close. And then I shuffled the cards knowing, these, I think I used these, actually used these in another one. These cards. I just shuffled them knowing that I want to know about your life. I want to know about your life. Just thinking about my grandma. I just know about your life. I want to know what you want to share with me. What do you want me to understand? And then I did the spread and I did the circle and I just went through it. I just wrote my interpretations for each card space. And that was me connecting with that person. It didn't have to be, for me, it didn't have to be this big dramatic over, thing. It was just, I want to talk to you. And I felt her in the room. And I got real emotional too, because it's just like she had just passed away maybe a couple months earlier. So for me, it was like deeply cathartic. And I was talking out loud to her and telling her how much I missed her. And then I just did the pool to kind of talk about her life and have her tell me about these things that I was asking about. And that was really useful. That was really, really, really useful. Hey, Miss Katrina. Does that make sense, Miss Sandrine? I hope it does. I hope it does. And if not, totally let me know. We'll circle back. We'll always circle back. Let's see. Oh, there's your. If you don't know them. Oh, there's issues with that all the time. When you don't know the ancestors that you're trying to reach out to, then you have to take a lot of it on faith. And that may, because in all reality, if you are not comparing this knowledge that you're gaining about this ancestor with someone, then all it is faith, right? So I feel like personally, I know we want it to matter to know them before we kind of do these pulls on them. But I honestly don't think it does, because I've definitely done readings on souls that I do not know. I'll have images of, but I don't know them, or I just know that they exist for me. For instance, I don't have a photo of my paternal grandmother's mother. I don't have a photo of her. I just know that she had to exist because I wouldn't be here otherwise. And so I have the intention of reaching out to that energy. And so it's just that intention of aiming who it's you're trying to reach out to. And I even wrote that down. I wrote that down. My paternal grandmother, my grandmother on my great grandmother on my father's side. That's who I'm reaching out to. And then you pull that information, or you pull that spread, you do those cards, or you do that outreach. So I hope that aligns. I hope that makes sense for you. For if you don't know them, but you know of them because you had to have them to exist. Jesus is, how am I blocking myself from hearing spirit? That's a good question. I wonder if you're still here, sweetie. I don't know how you're blocking yourself, but I know that sometimes we can prevent ourselves from hearing spirit because maybe we don't believe it, because we're looking for something that's a little bit more profound than just the subtle inclinations of your intuition, or that gut check that you just had, or the soft feelings that's going on around you. So I think often, and I'm actually grateful that this isn't the case. Say, for instance, you have this booming voice showing up in your head, and they're saying, I'm your spirit guide. You think you're nuts. You would think you're crazy. And so to prevent you from getting scared too terribly, I appreciate that it's a little bit more subtle. I appreciate that it's a feeling, because words are not the only way in which you can communicate. You can communicate through visuals, through pictures, through coincidences, through feelings, internal feelings, through knowing. Sometimes you just know the thing that's going on for you, or the answer to your question, or what have you. There's so many ways in which our team can connect with us and talk with us that hearing doesn't even have to be part of the equation. I hope that makes sense though, but it's more in reliance to like, sorry, I was trying to like hop into Psychic Lady pulling cards, and like I want to answer your question directly. How are you not hearing spirit or blocking yourself from hearing spirit? We're not digging into that, but I know that often we don't listen, or we don't hear, we don't receive that information because we've either we don't believe in what we're getting, or we haven't made the connection yet. Sometimes we just haven't made the connection. And because it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Did Yasmina call me Abby Cakes? That's cute. Can you tell me what are some good ways to meditate and manifest, write spells, and connect to my magical self? Dude, you are a pro. So meditate. Now, keep in mind, meditation is an acquired taste, at least for me anyways. I love the process of meditation. I am terrible at the consistency of it, but I do love the momentary bits of stillness. So lots of ways to meditate. One size does not fit all. Find what works for you. If it's going to YouTube and finding a guided meditation just to kind of help you stay on track, do it. If it's 10 minutes in the morning, right after you wake up, do it. If it's 10 minutes before or during lunch before you go to bed, do it. Whatever it is for the goal in which you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to achieve just that equilibrium peace? Then whatever process works for you. If you're trying to like rev yourself up to be, hype man for somebody else, then do that. If you're trying just to get out of your damn way for a minute, do that. But there's so many ways to go about it. But for me personally, it really just depends on what my goal is, because sometimes I do just want to kind of settle in. Oh, hey, Lori, she's just made it. She had some company. No worries, sweetie. For me, meditation, I do it as I feel necessary or as needed. Sometimes I do meditations for specific goals of like reconnecting to a particular spirit guide, like talking with them one-on-one. Maybe just to understand why something hurts so much. Maybe I have like an unconscious wound that I keep, nitpicking at. Sometimes that'll be useful. But often I find just 10 minutes of listening to nature on my headphones is brilliant. It's brilliant. So it doesn't have to be a whole big thing. Oh, so other question, manifestation. So the way that I understand that manifestation works is there's a couple parts to it. First, you have the event that is causing you a contrasting moment. And by contrast, I mean it's like you are here and there is something different to you. So that different to you makes you want something or gives you a trigger reflex pull of like, I don't want that. So say for instance, you have a stomach ache. And so immediately you're like, I don't want a stomach ache. There's your contrasting moment. You have the contrasting moment, and now you've made your request of not wanting a stomach ache or wanting to feel wellness or wanting, whatever it is that you happen to want or trying to pull in. Once you've made that request, the thing that usually gets us a lot is the fact that we need to then let it go. Because so often we're checking. Do I still have a stomach ache? Okay, yes, I do. Do I still have a stomach ache? Yes, I still do. Do I still have a stomach ache? Yes, I still do. Do I still have a stomach? That checking keeps the stomach ache around. Instead, one of the things that you can do, if you can't just like let it go, maybe you can go distract yourself for a while. Maybe you can maybe get into the energy of what it feels like when you get the thing that you're actually desirous of. If you can get yourself into the energy of already having and just get in those feel good, chewy feelings of already having, it just feels good in advance. And you start to feel good in advance. And it's kind of like, oh, when it gets here, it'll be even better because I already feel amazing. And so it's that kind of thing. It's that kind of thing that kind of really, really helps bring stuff in. It's the letting it go part or feeling really good in advance. But the checking to see if it's here yet, the why is it not here? When is it coming? Things will be so much better when, that doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. So it's like we got to get it out of our way, either letting it go and distracting ourselves completely or getting juicily into the energy of what it'll be like when it's here. I hope that makes sense, Miss Yasmina, and totally let me know if it doesn't. When it comes to writing spells, I find the simpler the better because it's all about the energy and the intent that you're putting into it. And the same resides there. Do the working, let it go, let it happen, let it trust and have faith that it's going to execute in the way that you so choose. Now, when it comes to spell work, one of the things that I want to make sure, like, what little tidbit I want to make sure that everybody I know knows how to do this is to check to make sure in advance that that spell work is necessary. Because sometimes the direction of the spell work is counterintuitive to what you're actually looking for. Hypothetical example, more literal example of something I did recently. I thought I wanted to do a money manifestation working. That's what I walked in thinking I wanted to do. And so I planned it out. I figured out the things that I wanted to do, and I wanted to create like a little satchel or poppet or a little baggie of something. So I got my stuff. I've researched my ingredients. I have the thing. I have the time. I have the stuff. Blah blah blah. So right before I get ready to do it, I take my tarot cards and I ask my cards, "Is this working best suited for my intention?" And so the answer I got was no. And I was a little perturbed because I'm like, what the fuck? Because I just got all this stuff together. I'm ready. What do you mean no? And so I actually kept reading, kept digging, kept pulling more cards. What do you mean no? And what I learned is actually it wasn't so much the manifestation or the money manifestation I was really aiming for. It was more understanding where it was I wanted to go, where it was I wanted clarity on something that was going on around me. I wanted direction. I wanted self-perceived obstacles to be removed. Like I wanted a kind of like a road opener, for instance. I wanted a path. I wanted clarity. That's what I wanted, not necessarily money. Money wasn't going to fix the actual situation that was going on. This was. And so actually I shifted my working mid-flight to like a road opener kind of path working kind of thing. And to this day, I still see that symbol on occasions that I used for it. And it just makes me feel so warm and fuzzy that I was guided to see the actual direction I needed to go instead of needed to go to get to where I wanted to go, if that makes sense, versus what I thought I was actually aiming for. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. And then connecting to your magical self, honey, you are already magical self. So totally let me know if you have a specific question in regards to that. I'll totally dig into the nuances of what you mean. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. I want to make sure I answer questions for people who are here. And I know Sandrine ain't going nowhere, my sweet pea. And she said something about a pendulum. So I used a pendulum today. It only told me my ancestors had 6 letters in their name and wouldn't spell it out. So rude. That's funny. Usually in that kind of situation, you have to think a little bit bigger than maybe the English alphabet. Also, maybe the ancestor that is like trying to bring that information through doesn't know how to spell the name, but they know that that it had 6 letters in it. So it's just like, there's so many reasons as to why these things can happen. It's like we have to think very flexibly when it comes to working with pendulums or working with other tools to kind of get the answers that we're looking for. Maybe instead of going for their name, go for their relationship to you, because I feel like that's a little bit more exacting than, I mean, yes, a name is like a name, it's an identifier, but there's language barriers, there's energy barriers, there's gosh, there's so many things that can kind of get in the way of that. So when you kind of get into that situation, you have to get a little bit more flexible, but you'll get it. Oh, she says she's gonna try that. Good job, dear. Do I know? I don't know what that is. Do I know? Yeah, you're gonna have to pronounce that in the spiritual world. What do you think about the new wave of spiritual scammers? I can answer that question. um, I don't know. I'm not gonna butcher the word. What do I think about the new wave of spiritual scammers? I feel like there is charlatans in every industry, right? I feel like there are scammers in every sphere. They're around. So long as there is, what would you call it? So long as there is a resource of some sort, there's going to be people who are attracted to the resource, and then there's going to be the people or energy or whatever you want to call it that are going to try to capitalize on it. I almost think of it as a natural progression, because if I think about it hard enough, I think about how, if I think about schools of fish, if you go into an ocean and you see a school of sardines, you see the wave of sharks come in. You see the, what do you call it? The seals that come in to eat too. You see the birds that are coming down to, you know, do the dive. You see all these things occurring. So to me, I feel like the school of fish is a resource. Spirituality is a resource. The people who come in are using these resources to feed themselves, feed each other, feed their families, you know, do what have you. But there's always going to be somebody, something kind of picking off the sides. To me, it's a natural process. So with that, I try not to judge it too damn harshly. I try. But in the same instance, I want to educate my sweet souls into not getting confused by somebody pretending to be me. Not getting hurt by somebody trying to be me just because they don't live by the same doctrine that I do. I'm never going to slide into your DMs and tell you like, hey, I have a message from your ancestor. It's not going to happen. I don't do that. I don't prescribe to that kind of work. Now, not saying that that person can't provide a legitimate service. I just don't do it. I don't do it like that. That's not my philosophy. I do not do ambush readings. I don't just come up to you and say like, oh my gosh, I feel your ancestors coming through and I need to tell you something. Like, I don't care if your ancestor is beating on the back of my head. If you didn't come to me asking for that information, it is not my job to then procure it. And I will actually have conversations in my head with spirits like, make it happen. Figure out a way to make it happen, because I'm not going to go over there and interrupt their food for you to just converse. I understand opportunity. I get it. I'm not going to do it. Somebody has to pump the brakes, and why not? Why not be me? Why not be me? So sorry, my nose itches now. But there you go. New wave of spiritual spammers. Also keep in mind that there's going to be somebody for everybody. Everybody in regards to wherever your level of development is. And it's up to that individual person to understand what resonates for them and go with what resonates with them. Because Christianity didn't cut it for me, but it's amazing for a lot of other people. Ifa didn't cut it for me, but it is glorious for a lot of other people. Wicca, Celtic divination is amazing for some people. Hoodoo, amazing for a lot of people. Doesn't quite cut it for me. I have my own ball of wax to work with. That's what I do. And the people that, anyway, I can go off on a tangent. I'm not going to do it. Go with what resonates for you, where you're at in your level of development and your skill set and where you want to go. And then understand that where you're at right now may not be where you always stay, and just be willing to continue to evolve and grow. To me, that's the mic drop. So yeah, let me scroll down. I want to make sure I'm answering your questions. So many scammers out there. Yeah, it's unfortunate because where there's money, there's people who want to get it, and where there is pain and heartache, there's people that want to capitalize. And it's unfortunate. I can't even say a whole lot because, say for instance, I am a reseller. I sell, or I buy rather, tarot cards from estates. Some of these estates are from people who have passed away or moving into transitional housing and don't have the opportunity to take their cards with them. Some people would look at me like I'm a scammer because I'm going to take those cards and flip them. I don't think I'm a scammer. This is just how I've decided to conduct my business. And it works for a big majority of us. So when I think of it like that, what's the difference between me and a scammer? I guess intent. Maybe the judgment attached to that intent. Some people will think that's amazing. Some people will think it's awful. Like, trust me, I've had some people yell at me, like, how dare you come in and try to take all the cards? I'm like, hey, I was paying you. How dare you not pay me enough? Really? Because I thought we agreed. And that's okay. If you don't agree, totally fine. I understand completely. And I will back up slowly and lovingly. But yeah, people will always show up. Where is this? It's a girl. Oh, it's this girl on Twitter that's all for celebrity. I have a mixed bag about that because in all reality, she's doing what works for her. She's getting something out of it. Who knows what it is? She's getting something out of it. So who are we to judge what she gets? There's no reason to judge what she gets. It's like, that's her stuff. But I do feel like there is a certain level of responsibility of the people who are attracted to that kind of person. And so does that person then capitalize on their people in a unethical kind of way? But then my question is, who am I to decide what her ethics should be? So that's why I have questions. It's just like, I don't know. I get really nitpicky. Nitpicky. Spiritual warfare, they say, is the new war. I can see how it can be, but I think it also depends on who you're talking to, because I prefer to follow a religious practice that supports free thinking and autonomy. If there is any practice that wants to make me feel less than, then I'm not down for it. So that's part of the reasons why I kind of detached myself from Catholicism. Not born into Catholicism, but I was baptized, and I did go to Catholic church for a long time because it felt mean in instances. Like, I was told legit from people in the Baptist church and the Catholic church that my biracialness was a sin because I was raised down south. So if my cookery, how I was baked is a sin, and there I'm getting attacked for that. To me, that is also spiritual warfare, or could be an example of it. And it feels like it's unfair and not okay in any way, shape, or form. I also have heard about people who suffer from mental illness who feel like their souls are being attacked. And not saying that it's not happening. I'm just saying that their perspective is they feel like they're being attacked spiritually. And for them, it is real. And so it should be thought of as real for that person, and then should be dealt with in that way. If I'm sitting in my merry life enjoying myself, and then somebody comes to tell me that there's something wrong with my aura, or there's something wrong with my spirit, and I need to talk to them about how they can rescue me, I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. Obviously these demons are working out well because I'm good. But that's just me. That's just an Abby. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. And you just wanted to know how to clearly hear what my spirit is saying to me. How to clearly hear. How to clearly hear what your spirit is saying to you. Because I have the ways that I do it. I can talk about that. Kiana, so I feel like for that kind of question, there's a mixed bag of stuff going on for you specifically. I feel like you spend a lot of time not trusting yourself. So all of a sudden, magically trusting yourself is really hard. So the thought or the invitation I would give you is figuring out where you can trust yourself. And maybe even go as far as setting up a little space in your home that regardless of what happens, when you're sitting in that space, you believe everything. Everything, even if it's dumb and retarded, who cares? Excuse me, terrible word. Dumb and in something else or another. Point is, another thing that I used to do when I was kind of in the beginning phases of building this business is that I had a lot of distrust for what was happening. And so eventually I just said, like, all right, so when I'm sitting in this bed, I was in my bed. When I'm sitting in this bed, I'm going to believe everything that shows up, and blindly believe everything that shows up, because it was the first faith thing that I was going for. Not the I've thought it over and over again, and so that's true. No, it was the I'm believing first intuition all the time, no matter what. First thing that shows up, I'm believing it, believing it, believing it. First thing that shows up, believing it. That worked really well for me because it also helped me understand what feeling my spirit team felt like. And I could differentiate. I started to be able to differentiate when that feeling was perfect versus, no, that's me feeling a little neurotic and feeling a little bit lonely or feeling a little bit sad and acting out. You know, when you practice, you start to feel what it feels like for you. Because I would love to say it's for you, it's just like go out into the wilderness, yell to the moon, and now you get to hear your spirit clearly. I mean, it might work, but you still have to trust whatever is showing up for you, if that makes sense. And so I think for you, maybe using like that, when you sit in that chair, you trust whatever happens, you trust whatever you're reading, you trust whatever you're writing in your journal, you trust whatever is coming to you, however it feels. Also keep in mind that your spirit team is working out of love, period. Like anything that makes you feel less than is not your spirit team. That is our ego. That is energy that's in the room. That is other drama that's circling around you. That is not your spirit team. Your spirit team comes to the table with love all the time. So it should feel good. And you should feel like all nestled and cared for and loved and hugged and stuff while in it. That's kind of like one of the great parts about doing this kind of work, is that it feels fucking good. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, you guys, please feel free to throw in your questions. I know there's a few people that have come and kind of gone. If you have questions about your psychic development, spirit work, spirit communication, have some questions for me, because I have some topics that I don't mind going over before we call it good, just to kind of like, these are some recurring themes that show up for me all the time when people ask questions. That's an interesting question. So please talk about the rules about pendulum usage, the ethics. The ethics. So I do have a pendulum. I use it on occasion. The way that I work with mine is mostly, I first used it to help me confirm. It was like a secondary confirmation when I was doing tarot, or when I just wanted to talk, to connect, to feel. Like I wanted to feel like something out here existed, kind of thing. And so I used it that way. I found that it was most useful for yes or no questions. And there is a plethora of information available on the internet of more nuanced questions where you can actually, like I have some charts in here somewhere actually. where you can use your pendulum to kind of help you locate things. You can help you pick things. It can help you understand your medical process, because it's just basically going off of energy. And so ethics regarding that, that's a really good question, but I think ultimately it just depends on your own personal ethics and what kind of practitioner you want to be. Because I've already kind of decided what kind of reader I want to be. I want to be that person who, one, can be trusted, right? But also, I don't care how skilled my skill sets become. Just because I can peek into the back door or the bathroom of our neighbor doesn't mean I have to look. Does not mean I have to look. So I have put in like a little mental arrangement with my spirit team that if I don't want to violate anybody's privacy. That's a big thing for me. I don't want to dip into their situation and read something that they don't want me to know about. So everyone's in agreement, and they put in layers of resistance when that shows up. So for instance, if I have a client that wants to know what's going on over here, I might be able to give you the window shopping version, like looks like a blue house, but I'm not going to be able to tap in and see, like, okay, they have the furniture on the left and underneath the thing. And then if you look in their underwear drawer, here's their dirty secrets and here's their laundry list. Like, I don't want to be that kind of person. So I don't dig into it. I don't dig into it at all. I also don't feel like that kind of work is useful at all. And often it is actually damaging to the person who's asking those kind of questions. Because for instance, if you have a significant other who is, y'all broken up, and now they have a new girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, if you start asking questions about them, that's going to injure you. You're not doing that because you're curious, or you're professionally curious, or there's some useful spiritual information valid there. You're using that because you're nosy. Does she like it more than I do? I don't know. Why do you need to know that? You don't. And it only hurts you when you get the answers that you don't want. So anyway, there's lines there. And I feel like as we get older, we know what those lines are, and we know how to work through them. Kaya, I've heard my name called in my sleep multiple times. Why is that? Ooh, there's lots of reasons, or lots of things that could be. I'm not gonna know what yours specifically was. However, for me, it was my team kind of talking to me or getting my attention. It's kind of like testing kind of thing. But also, if you think about it, when you're asleep, kind of in that twilight space before you kind of descend and go to sleep, your brain is not actively resisting anything. You are kind of just floaty, and that's the best time to contact you. So until you learn how to do that practice outside of the bedroom, then that's an excellent time to reach out. So maybe it's your grandmother, maybe it's your spirit guide, maybe it's an ancestor, maybe it's whoever. Next time you hear that, maybe ask them directly who that was, and then wait until you either hear who that was or feel who it was. Because sometimes you're not going to hear, I'm your grandmother. More of just like, oh, I felt grandma's cookies just then. That smelled awesome. Aw. And then you kind of know who that is. And then you also have an identifier for that person now. So just for instance, there we go. Is your partner on a spiritual journey as well? Does she participate in this world with you? If not, how does she support your path? So my wife is team me all the way. She is on I call it a tandem journey, but we have different goals. She's not like doing spirit work like I am. She is going in on family work, on business work. That's where that's where she's at. I love her for it. But she's thoroughly supportive, and she only half participates. Like, sometimes she'll want readings done, but I approach her differently. I approach her very analytically. So I stay out of my intuition mostly with her, unless it's like really loud, and then I share. But no, she's a big support. She's a super big support. And she's on her own journey, but she's on her journey, and she prefers to do that personally, privately, on her own. Done. We will converse, we'll have conversations, we'll have topics, we'll discuss things until we're blue in the face. But no, she won't be like the person that's in here working the sessions with me, for instance. This is my work. She does her amazing stuff too. And she's a big support. She helps me with the business stuff. She helps me with the She's really, really good about questions. And so sometimes I'll have like professional engagements that show up and we're working out the details. And she always has the additional wonderful questions where like I didn't even think to ask that, or it didn't dawn on me to figure that out. So she's a great, second help there in that regard. So yeah. Oh my goodness. Let me stretch my neck. So I still have about 30 minutes. I'm all for continuing to answer your questions, you guys. Let's see. Is there any way to know when I will or may meet your person? Ooh, that's a good question. There's so much to that though. Because if you think about it in one way, if you understand law of attraction, usually that perpetual feeling of that emptiness of them not being there kind of keeps them from not being there. So that's not useful, right? However, if you're trying to identify the person, what happens if you meet a person that is them or looks like them or sounds like what showed up in your thing, and it's not them, or it's not them in the way that you think you want? I feel like it's so complicated. I think you can. I think there are ways to dig in and get a visual or get a reading or get a on who your next person is going to be. But you also have to understand that that's only at that moment, and that may change because I'm at least me. I'm of the feeling that we all have multiple people that are going to be coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Some will stay a lot longer than others. Some will come and be a flash in the pan. The whole like twin flame soulmate thing, I feel is complicatedly interesting, and I'll totally discuss that in a moment if you'd like to. Totally let me know. So to answer directly, is there a way? I think there is. However, I think the premise has some questions around it because I feel like it's one of those things where it's like lighting a firecracker in your hand. Is it safe? Is it going to hurt? Don't close your hand, all right? You don't want your hand to blow off. But that's just me. That's just my perspective and my experience. When I have clients that talk to me about who's my next boyfriend going to be, I'm like, all right, let's look in. When like, who's the man I'm going to marry for the rest of my life? I'm like, wait. Let's hold back a little bit because I need to understand where you're coming from. I need to understand your point of view. I need to understand your mental process because if you're coming at it from, I need to get to the one now and not tomorrow, I'm like, all right, let's unpack that. However, I always want to make sure that my women understand that the one that they're looking for, they may not be ready for it right now. And so it's like, it's so big. It's so much bigger than, does that make sense? I feel like I just went like all the way around that. I don't even know if I answered your question, honey. I think I did. Is there a way? Yes. Is it useful? I don't think so. And that's just me. Because yeah. Oh, you totally understand it. Thank you so much, Regina. Because dude, I'm sitting here like I feel like I need a drink to like properly digest this one. And not because your question is any is there anything wrong with it, but it's more of just like rehashing my experience with those kind of questions and what shows up for people on both sides of that spectrum of like, it went great, oh my god, we're together, it's amazing, to like, that person that I said, yeah, he was an asshole. I'm like, my bad, I'm sorry, you okay? That kind of thing. So I hope that makes sense. The gray streak we gave is called Polosis. I have to write that down. Poliosis. Totally researching whatever that is. I hope that doesn't mean that my head's gonna fall off or anything. So thank you so much. Carrie, excuse me, let me cough. Not in your face. Thank you. I feel sometimes I have negative energy around, or excuse me, I have negativity around me. Shouldn't be my granny or my ex. Sometimes I feel like I have negativity around me. Shouldn't be my granny or my ex. Okay. Negativity. What's your question around that, hun? I don't know the question around that. I don't even know if you're still here. I hope you're still here. But totally let me know if you have a question in regards to that and I'll answer it directly. Everything is about the question asked. The more, the better. Absolutely. Some things you just don't need to know. Damn right. That actually is a firm belief that I have, is never, ever, ever ask questions you do not want to know the answer to. There's like some questions that I just do not want to know about, and so I don't go there. I don't go there. I don't want to know because I will get answers and I don't want them, and I don't want to be weirded out. I don't want to have issues. I don't want problems. It's all good. Hey, Miss Dear, good evening. You're a little bit late, no worries. But I wanted to ask if there's a way to remember my dreams. I need like two numbers to a VIN number for a single wide. It's critical, but I can't remember my dreams. Oh, how funny. What is this? So in your dreams, you're trying to recall an aspect of your dream. That's interesting. Huh. I remember, okay, so I understand the process of how you can start remembering your dreams, but not so much going back and remembering the information that was in a dream. Because often just you making the active intent to remember your dreams, and then the moment you wake up, you start jotting down notes or sketching out your dream or whatever it is, maybe voice speaking what your dream was, all the details that you can muster, that will help you start the process of kind of tuning your brain into remembering your dreams. Because I remember all of mine, or the one that I had yesterday, each day, for as long as it makes sense, is basically where it's at. But going back and kind of pulling a VIN number off of a single line, that's new level stuff. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but totally, dude. Like, my thought would be like, maybe when you go to bed, try to start the feelings around the best part that you can remember about the dream, and just see if you can kind of re-feel and rework your way around that area, and maybe ask your team to see if they can help, just to see if they can kind of like either throw you back there or help you figure it out or help you kind of find something. Just see what happens and try, and then totally let me know, because I need to understand how that works. My dear, I need to understand how that works. Right, right. Melissa's not going live with me. She's not a fan of the camera. I'm barely a fan of the camera. What are you talking about? Oh, Denise, thank you so much for coming here. I bet she already bounced. It's all good. Adelaide, for my self personality, when I get woken up during the witching hours, yes, I find it really, really hard to wake up, so I usually don't. But now I find that I don't get those wake up times anymore. Do you think my spirit team gave up on me? I wouldn't say give up. I would say they found a better method, or they found a different method or situation or a different area or a different way. So there's 19 million ways to accomplish any one thing. So I don't believe that they give up on you per se. I just think they found another way in, or another thing, or another method. Like, whatever it is, they found something else. Found another way to do it. How do you tell someone you guys are the hold on. How do you tell someone you guys are divine counterparts because you had a prophetic dream without looking crazy? you know, I would not do that to them. That's just me though. I would say that. Okay, so let me tell you this. I had situations when my wife and I were still just dating, and even rough dating. Like, we have our patches like everybody does. But I still have those moments where it's just I found some clarity and I knew something was going to happen, and I'm just kind of like, all right, it's in the back of my mind. It's in the back of my mind. I'm just going to hold it. And it wasn't until the things got married and we got comfortable that I was like, I saw this. And she's like, how? I'm like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. Really? Yep, totally did. Why do you think I stuck around for so long? No, I'm saying. But those were like some of the things that I would do. But no, I wouldn't tell them, because that puts a lot of pressure and can also scare people. So just as much as you probably want to, as much as you probably would love to tell them all about it, I would hold that little secret to yourself until it's a bit more, until the relationship is a bit more substantial and has more time under its belt. Because otherwise, that's something you're nuts. I know you're not nuts, but I also don't want you to put accidentally unnecessary pressure on this sweet pea of yours. And then what happens if y'all split up? It doesn't mean that y'all weren't divine. It just means the nature of your relationship is shifted, and that's okay. Do you know or feel who it is? I live in a house. man owned and passed away, does he want me to move? Oh, why don't you ask him? Or maybe like, because I'm not personally, I'm not digging into, I'm not reading today. But in that kind of situation, have you tried asking him? And maybe because when it comes to discarnate souls that are like attached to an environment, there's lots of controversy around it, because I don't necessarily feel like a soul wants you to leave their space kind of thing. What I usually find is that maybe you know how you are a little bit puzzled by his existence in your space? Maybe he's a little puzzled by your existence in your space, in his space. And it's just he's not quite figured out what's going on yet. Instead of asking him, do you want me to move? More of, what can we do to coexist peacefully? And what does coexist peacefully look like? Does that mean you stay in the background and I can't hear you? Does that mean you can, these are my boundaries and you can't do this, this, and this, but I won't do that kind of thing? You can maybe see if he wants to go ahead and transition, like what is holding him to this space? Does he want to stay held to this space? Does he want to leave? Does he know that he can leave? There's lots of ways to kind of dig into that and talk about it. So it'd be interesting. It can be interesting. You probably have. Is there another way to remember? Oh, I don't remember what your original question is. I'm sorry, Sophie. I had a dream once. I see your comments is coming in. Oh, that's a really good question. Oh my gosh, I have to look that up. I'm gonna scroll down. So Sandrine, I'm not like skipping you per se, but I really want to ask talk about this. Is light language real? Dude, okay. I, as an Abby, understand completely that there are things that I am not gonna know. That there is, I say it like this. Some things are just above my pay grade. I am aware that I'm not trying to laugh. I'm aware that there is things that I have no understanding about. I have no regard to. I have no information about. There's gonna be lots of those things, right? Personally, I get leery around things that are new and popular. So pop culture spirituality drives me nuts personally. I feel like it can be very useful, but it also can be very damaging. So if light language is real, honey, I don't know. I've never had that experience, but it doesn't mean it's not real. Doesn't mean it's not. But I thoroughly expect that there's things in this universe that I will have no cognitive ability to be able to put together and process. I firmly believe that. So if light language is real, I don't know. I have no clue. I've listened to a few people do their thing. Feels nice. Is it real? I still know. I don't know. Light language? Oh, sweetie, you're totally gonna have to like YouTube that. And then be mad because your search history will forever be infiltrated, or your site will be forever infiltrated by light language everything. Like, but look it up. Because it's like, that's just me though. I don't get it, but that's just me. And I just associate it to, it's above my pay grade. It's above my pay grade. I don't get to know. At least not right now. And maybe something will occur in my life where it just hits me like a ton of bricks and I know exactly what it is and it all makes sense. Or maybe when I pass away, it'll all come together and I will know everything because I'll be quote unquote one with the universe. I don't think it works like that, but I'm just saying right now it's above my pay grade. So I don't know. I'm just wondering, because some people sound like they are making it up. I agree. However, there is okay. What I think is, what I'm learning that I'm thinking in this moment is that sciences were thought to be magic until more time was given to them, more involvement was given to them. Remember, what was it? I think Galileo. Oh my gosh, I can't remember when there was talk of a solar system, how that was thought of as sorcery and how that was sacrilege and how it should not be believed or even talked about. But now it's a common fact. What if light language is a new aspect of spiritual development that now our society is available to kind of, is there to understand? We're animals after all. I mean, it's possible. That's why I'm not like so keen to just dismiss it just because I don't understand it. It does sound like they're making it up, and I'm certain that like there's charlatans in every industry. I'm sure there are people who are just making it up, trying to, hop on the bandwagon, get the stuff, get the money, get the people who are vulnerable, all the things, right? But for me, I don't know. And I don't personally subscribe to the whole starseed thing. So to me, I think the starseed and the light liquid and that whole intergalactic stuff, I'm a firm believer that there are other planetary beings. There's other, I mean, we have such a big enough universe. There's no way we are the only life in this galaxy, at least. There's no way. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's above my pay grade. That's how I leave it. That's how I leave it. And for me, that's a very non-political way of getting into something, because that to me turns into like one of those things where it's like, are you pro-life or pro-choice? Above my pay grade. We're not talking about it today. We have it amongst appropriate company, if that makes sense. Thoughts on spiritual TikTok? They say the wrong meanings of the cards. It's wild. Dude, I believe you. Spirituality on TikTok. Okay, so I have this mixed bag with it because I've seen a lot of people within the witchcraft community really get frustrated with pop culture, TikTok culture, spirituality, and paganism. We are an instant gratification society, and so I love the fact that it can put new concepts in front of new eyes. I love that. However, we then tend to think just because I know a thing or two, that means I'm the master of everything. And then it just dilutes the work. It dilutes the information. It shares misinformation. And so that's why I feel like it's still up to that individual practitioner to study, to learn, to master their own craft, to master themselves in relation to that craft, and not just accept this thing or two and call it God or call it doctrine or call it whatever, if that makes sense. But yeah, it would get on my nerves. That would get on my last nerves from the right people. I think I made it through most of your questions. I do have a few little topics. It's just a couple of you that are still here. I'm totally down for talking about. Would love your point of view as well. Where's my little note thing? Scooch this over. So we did talk a little bit about connecting to your spirit guide. One of the questions that I get often is this belief or this thought that bad things could get them when they start working with spirits or when they start working with spirit energy. And I always want to make sure that if somebody is just beginning to work on that journey and there's any sort of fear, that they understand two things. One of which being that it's been my experience that there's nothing in the spirit world that is actively going to like break you or take you away or eat your soul or anything like that. Like that's never been my experience. However, like attracts like. And so if you walk into a situation fearful, I wouldn't be surprised if you attract wonky, fearful also. And so I don't know what that looks like for you. You'll probably feel it and get weirded out and get scared. So what do? What I feel like you should do whatever makes you feel safe, whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever makes you feel okay. Is that creating sacred space? Do it. Is it a soul circle around you? Do it. Is it calling your guides, guardians, and ancestors? Do it. Is it spritzing something amazing around you? Do that. It does not matter. You also don't have to do a thing. Because I'm very much on that end where I do what I feel like is necessary for the energy or the space that I'm in. But it's totally up to you. If you feel like you need a weapon or you have your guardian shield up around you and that makes you feel safe and secure while you're doing your work, do it. That is the point that matters. That is the point that matters. Oh, I think I just saw a question come in. So let me hop back over there. There you are. I can't read it. What do you think of always doing manifesting on new moons or retrogrades? Why not is kind of my perspective. And also, I don't think you're limited to those times. I feel like you are a manifestation creature. That is what you're doing. Every thought, energy doesn't turn off. What is it? Third law of Newton's laws of dynamics or thermodynamics. Energy is not created nor destroyed. It's there. It does not turn off. It does not go away. So you may be able to capitalize on it more because now you have a reminder that shows up or a moon that shows up that kind of reminds you, hey, today would be a good day to do something. Do it, but your energy is never turned off. Your ability to do that kind of work has never gone away. So it's always available to you. My grandmother said she did the outer body experiences when she was younger, but it scared her because she said she felt like she couldn't get back into her body. That's a common fear. And I can't say I wouldn't be scared too if I got disconnected, not disconnected, if I had a astral travel, or an outer body experience. If I had that fear, like if that was my fear, before the next time I did the session or the experience, I would find as much information to understand that aspect. Is it possible to get disconnected? Is it, is it possible to get disconnected? Personally, I don't think so, because I think your body and your soul have this connection that is, that only breaks when you've decided that we're going to go away now. I don't think you just walk too far away and you're gone. I feel like walking, for instance, if I laid down right now and did an astral travel completely unexperienced, I could totally feel like a little kid that's worried that they're going to lose their way home. I feel like, yeah, like to me, that would make the most sense to my brain where it's at right now. I would get worried that if I got too far away, I wouldn't be able to get back. Like, like think of yourself when you were 4. I bet you could go into the front yard, but I bet you'd be a little bit nervous if you went down the block. I bet your mama also beat your ass if you went around the block. But the whole point is the more skill you have in something, the more that you know how to operate within it, the less fear you'll have because you have more knowledge. So if there's anything that brings fears to you, then dig into it a little bit more so that you can understand it without getting scared of it, if that makes sense. But my mom used to do astral travel work too, so I understand. I think you went over this, but how do you find your spirit guides or find out who your spirit guides are and connect with them on a more personal level? So the way I understand it, and this is just my experience, my lived experience, is that you always have your spirit team. Like they're always around. So it's not so much that you have to find out who they are, as you guys kind of have to, not even have to. It's funny because there's a language that we use as a society, and then there's a language that I feel like is more appropriate to the situation. And so I have to like putter between the both so that you can understand me, but that I am also being clear. So meeting your spirit guides or making a space for you to kind of have a communication or an introduction, you can do that at any time, any place, anywhere. It's just acknowledging the fact that you have a spirit team or spirit guides kind of starts that road, right? So you can go as profound as like doing a meditation where off of YouTube where you're listening to this guided meditation of meeting your spirit guide, and see what occurs for you in that kind of situation. Or you can ask your spirit guide to show up in a dream, for instance. You could also ask your spirit guide to talk to you in a letter that you're going to be writing to yourself or something. There's so many ways to go about it where it's just what works for you, what feels chewy, what feels magical enough for you. For me, mundane works best. My spirit guides, we talk all the time in the shower. Something about that water. I love that time. That's perfect. When I'm in here, spirit work all day long. That works out well. When I'm in the middle of the thrift store, I don't need spirit anything. Actually, we've turn that shit down because I need to stay cogent. So, but that's just me. and connect with them on a more personal level. Oh, there's so many ways you can use like tarot cards, oracle cards. You can just talk. You can write letters. You can speak out loud. Maybe use a prayer. Create an affirmation for yourself. There's so much you can do. It's kind of cool in that way. So much you can do. Let's see. Ooh, open an Amazon wish list. You want to send me this book if you don't have it from Abiola Abraham. Woo! Send me a link to it because I don't have a wish list. At least I don't think I do. But yeah, totally send me a link to it. I would love that. Well, you all, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it good, unless you have another question that's going to come in, because I'm going to cough again. Excuse me. All my incense in the room. But I also need to get back to work here soon. Adeline, I just want to know them, you know? Yeah. So think of it kind of like this. Think of it like your skin. How well do you know your skin? It's attached to you. It's always around you. It's always there. It's never left. It may come and go in pieces and bits, but it's always there. So think of your spirit team as like your skin. They're always there. They're always around. We just have to get a little closer to it and get a little bit more familiar. I was looking at my arm. I was legit looking at my arm and get a little closer, get a little intimate. And there's a million ways in which to do it. And just find a method that works for you. Maybe do a little research, do a little digging, do some YouTubing, do some reading, because there's books on it for days. There's YouTube content on it for days. People have their processes. Find what works for you. That is like the far biggest thing, is find what works for you, that gets you connected, that makes you feel rich and fulfilled and connected. That's what works for you. But yeah, thank you two souls for coming to hang out. I know there's a few others of you that I haven't seen. I don't think it shows me who's actually here. That's all good. No worries. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A. If you have any other questions, please feel free to send me messages. I'll probably answer them over time. But yeah, this was fun. I may have to do this maybe like once a month or something if you guys like it. But you all take care. And by the way, I will be reading tomorrow. So please join me then if you like to get some cards pulled and have some fun that way. So you all take care. Bye.